Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Uh, this is sort of an update from the last video I did, because in the last video I discussed where Chuck Schumer here was basically threatening the American people with if the Congress and Senate didn't pass the, well, they're nicknaming it here, the border never closes bill, which that's too kind. The thing is even worse than that. Well, it was even worse than that. But he was saying if they didn't pass it, that we'd end up sending eventually the American people to go fight in Europe against Putin for God knows what reason, because I sure don't. Um, as far as I'm concerned, we don't belong over there at all. This is none of our business. We shouldn't be in it. But these people, I guess, are making a lot of money off of it, so they're more than willing to send our friends and family to go die in the war thousands of miles away for their own profit. And this one was actually eventually shot down. Lo and behold, they had a new one come out. Senator Lee rips $238 million provision for deployment of U.S. troops to Europe with proposed Ukraine aid filibuster bill. Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, on the floor of the Senate on Friday and on Saturday, blasted the proposed $95 billion foreign aid package, with the lion's share going to Ukraine aid. One provision in particular he highlighted in the package, among many, included spending $238 million for deployment of U.S. troops to Europe. He filibustered the bill on Saturday for several hours. Yeah, so Schumer threatened, and so it shall be done, apparently. During Friday's session, Lee took to the floor to point out various issues he took with H.R. 815, which is titled the Removing Extraneous Loopholes Ensuring Every Veteran Emergency Act. Or the Relieve Act, yes, because this has a lot to do with veterans. Reading through it, there's hardly anything there, and it really doesn't help anything. From what I can tell, in some ways, it's just going to add more bureaucracy and make it worse. The text of the bill is on Congress.gov with 211 amendments as of Saturday. It's actually more than that now. I think it's like 228 now. It is set to fund over $95 billion to aid for Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific. Yeah, they removed the border part. Well, at least in how they're wording it here, there is some things where they tried to put some border stuff in to some of the extra amendments. But this bill needs to burn. Okay, it's not just on the grounds of the 238 million for sending our people over there. There's another poison pill in it that really should tick people off. It provides some 238 million, roughly a quarter of $1 billion, to cover deployments of U.S. troops to Europe. Lee stated, does that mean we are getting ready to be more directly involved in this war, which we have no reason to be in? He went on further, breaking down the funding that will be getting sent to Ukraine and what the money will be used for, which is priceless. The proposed aid to Ukraine, Lee stated, will also include the cost of government employees. Yeah, we have to pay for their government now for a whole year. It would subsidize clothing stores as well as those who are selling concert tickets. Oh, yes, because we've got to make sure that we're paying for people to go to concerts over there. It would also give massive funding to the Ukraine border while not helping with border security for the United States. Yeah, because Ukraine's more important. That's something we've known for a while now, because you had the derailment in Ohio, up in East Palestine, the train derailment, people over there got told, go screw yourself, and our government sent billions to Ukraine. You had the Maui wildfires that killed people, and a lot of people lost their homes, destroyed a whole chunk of land over there. And what did our government do? Oh, you can have $700 per household while we send more billions to Ukraine. On Saturday, after breaking down the cost of the bill, the day before, Lee filibustered H.R. 815 for several hours in the hopes of slowing its passage through Congress. At several points, Lee introduced amendments to the bill, one of which would have changed the text as to not provide reconstruction for Ukraine. Basically, not only are we going through and sending money for, is our government trying to send money for a war we shouldn't be involved in, we're also going to rebuild Ukraine afterwards. Senator Catherine Masto, Democrat of Nevada, objected to the measure and said her objections stemmed from right-wing extremists who had not passed the previous version that would provide funds to process more illegal immigrants at the border. No, you're just saying, bring them in, open up the doors, let them on in. They're more important than the American people. I mean, we're making sure that we're taking good care of illegals coming in, while we have vets that are homeless. We have people that are barely making it paycheck to paycheck. They pay for their own homes. We have a completely shot infrastructure. Inflation's through the roof. Nobody can afford food hardly. But we got to make sure that the illegals are taken care of, instead of just actually enforcing the laws on the books and saying, get the hell out. You came here illegally, you don't belong here. Come through a port of entry like everybody else. Lee slammed the idea that the argument as simple as a slur in opposition to his amendment would make sense to stop him under Senate rules. Later, after his filibuster, he posted a short explainer on X. During the course of my speech, I explained why it's really important that we should use the opportunity to try to secure the border if a Ukraine package was going to move through. He explained that there was supposed to be an open amendment process. However, when he attempted to submit other amendments to the bill, he was blocked by other members' actions. One, we'll go over. This should have all been, if Ukraine was so important to these people, it should have, and was as important to the American people as they say, as these people try to claim it is, it should be able to stand alone. Two, screw Ukraine. Screw Russia. Screw it all. I'm worried about home, not there. But then we get the ultimate insult. Besides them saying that they want to make sure that we can send people over there to guarantee that people see there's a threat in place by these politicians to our people, because we just won't obey what the supposed betters think we should do. Then you get this. There's actually some, they call them Republicans, good old rhinos. This weekend, Senate Democrats joined with a few Republicans, including most Republican leadership. The turtle is not a Republican. I'm sorry, Mitch McConnell is nothing but a war profiteer and a rhino at best. Forced through a security supplemental that spends close to $100 billion, most of it on Ukraine. It was the culmination of months of secretive negotiations on border security. Those negotiations produced a border security product unacceptable to most Republicans. So then Republicans voted it down. And then an hour later, we were debating a security supplemental with border security stripped out. The quick pivot refusal to negotiate another round on border security and immediate shift to blame Trump confirmed one thing: Republican leadership wasn't serious about border security. They cared most about Ukraine funding and saw the border negotiations as a distraction. This extinguished any hope of real border security before the negotiations began. Yeah, because Orange Man. You got to blame Orange Man for everything, even though you're the ones that are screwing it up. Can't take responsibility and accountability for your own actions. The story our leadership tells is that the politics of border security had changed because of Donald Trump. James Langford dutifully negotiated a bipartisan border product. Conservative Republicans encouraged this negotiation. When the product took shape, Donald Trump demanded conservatives walk. Trump argued that Joe Biden didn't need a border security package, which was true. So Republicans should ask simply that Joe Biden do his job. This intervention allegedly killed a great piece of border policy. No, it didn't. The border bill sucked ass. It is a long, drawn out piece of crap that basically opens the border. Quick summary. You're going to say that we're going to allow 5,000 in a day. We're going to process 5,000 people in a day. Out of those, then you have where emergency provisions kick in if it goes over a certain amount. Now, the problem is they will only count the amount if it is a person that is one, not an unaccompanied minor, or claims to not be, or a person that doesn't claim to be a minor that comes through, which in the provision you're not even allowed to ask them. If they say they're a minor, then you just have to accept it, up to 8,000. But it doesn't count unless it's directly from a direct land neighbor of the U.S. So the person has to be, the country of origin they're coming from either literally has to be Mexico or Canada. Any nations beyond Mexico, doesn't matter. Any nations beyond anywhere else in the world, doesn't matter. You can come in as many as you want before the provision kicks in. It was crap. But yeah, let's blame Trump for the thing that you did. Joe Biden, you screwed us. We had things that were working, things that were being enforced. And day one, you bragged about you were going to kill them. You were going to kill off those bills. And look what you did. You completely shafted us. But everybody knew you were going to do it because you said you were going to do it. And lemmings just followed suit because Orange Man bad. This is a fairy tale that makes conservative senators and Donald Trump look bad, perhaps by design. In truth, the demands conservative senators made at the beginning of the negotiations went like this: Joe Biden can fix this problem, but he refuses, so we must make him do his job. This posture came along specific demands from senators ranging from Ukraine aid supporters like Marco Rubio to Ukraine aid skeptics like me. And those, mind you, this is J.D. Vance. It's a thing written by him. In the middle, like Ron Johnson, we argued that we could condition further Ukraine aid on decreased illegal border crossings. In other words, Congress would appropriate money to Ukraine in stages. If Biden refused to drive down border crossings, he wouldn't get his money for Ukraine. He shouldn't get it anyways. That's where I have my issue with him. The deal as envisioned by conservatives was apparently never on the table. According to both Democratic colleagues and some Republicans, this is because Republican leadership, specifically Mitch McConnell, refused to push the Democrats on this issue because he's one of them. Other Republicans have argued instead that even if Mitch McConnell empowered Langford to make this demand, Democrats would have never agreed. Well, then either way, Ukraine wouldn't be getting the money, so screw them. Obviously, this latter view reflects more favorably on Mitch McConnell, but only by a little, because it suggests a massive asymmetry in negotiating leverage. If Democrats are desperate for Ukraine aid and Republicans, at least the negotiating Republicans, are also desperate for Ukraine aid, border security would inevitably land on the chopping block. Did Trump oppose a deal? He certainly opposed the deal that was on the table. It would have done little to secure the border in the future, would have been a massive political gift to the Democrats, and would constrain Trump's border enforcement if he was ever elected president. This last point deserves extra emphasis. These bipartisan deals always seem to contain provisions that would put the next president, whoever that is, in a box. Given its substance, it is hardly surprising that he opposed the deal, but most Republicans opposed the deal well before he weighed in, publicly or privately. In fact, the only conversation I had with Donald Trump about the border deal was the day after the text came out, well, after I had opposed the bill's headline provisions. Why do you guys want to give these people such a gift? It's stupid. It was an accurate point, but it didn't change anyone's mind because most of us already agreed with the former president. So the deal fell apart, and the way it fell apart was the height of political malpractice. The text, 370 pages of it, dropped late Sunday, February 4th. We had a Republican conference meeting on Monday. Well before anyone had time to digest the provisions, McConnell left the meeting and praised the bill, but criticized the changing political dynamics. He blamed Donald Trump. He blamed the House of Representatives. Because that's what he's going to do. I guarantee Mitch McConnell is making a fortune off of Ukraine. Normally, spending bills aren't. Sorry, I missed a part. It's hard to imagine a more damaging political message. Hey everyone, we've got great bipartisan policy, but we're going to kill it because the knuckle draggers don't like it. It was a gift to Democrats, and everyone knew it. Senate candidates across the country, many of whom are allies of Mitch McConnell, called me to complain bitterly of the predicament created by leadership in Washington. Normally, spending bills go through months of review, committee markups, and hours of debate. The text of the Ukraine supplemental was distributed to the Hill on Wednesday, February 7th. The first procedural vote was taken less than a day later. On February 5th, many senators had emphasized the importance of doing something on the border before action was taken in Ukraine. 2 days later, at least some of them had decided that fighting for border security for an hour had checked the box, and they were ready to move on to their real priority, funding Ukraine. The bill will pass, albeit by a tiny margin, with a majority of Republicans opposing the bait and switch. This current episode is finished, at least in the Senate, but there will be many reruns. The form of this debacle will replay itself to the great detriment of Donald Trump and other Republican candidates. 3 facts are important. First, voters range from ambivalent to outright hostile of further Ukraine aid. I agree with that statement. Second, a subset of Republican senators are obsessed with Ukraine aid, caring about this issue more than any other. Yeah, you see that. Lindsey Graham. Third, a majority of House Republicans oppose further Ukraine aid and demand strong border security measures regardless of the details of the Ukraine package. Because screw Ukraine. Screw Russia. Screw all of them. If they're not us, I don't care about them right now. It's easy to sketch out how these facts will manifest themselves in our political reality. The Senate Ukraine bill goes to the House, where leadership there cannot bring it up to the floor without endangering House Speaker Mike Johnson. So the House will either refuse to vote on the Ukraine bill or will attach a strong border security bill like H.R. 2 and then send it back to the Senate. In public and private, Senate Republican leadership will undermine the House leadership and a Republican presidential nominee because McConnell's a damn rhino and a turtle. Have an interesting mix. Democrats could try to force House leadership to bring up Ukraine aid with a discharge petition, an approach that would hand control of the House floor over to Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. With the aid of a few House Republicans, Speaker Johnson can fight this maneuver aggressively. If he does, he will be attacked by Senate Republican leaders, at least privately, and will face another negative news cycle. If he doesn't, his own conference will turn against him. The cycle will replay over the government funding deadline in March. It will replay over the omnibus debate that follows. It will replay any time U.S. Congress must actually do anything. Whatever shape this takes, the basic game will be the same. The media, obsessed with any story that makes Trump look bad, will blame him and MAGA Republicans in the House. They will blame Trump for the chaos. They will blame Trump for extremism. They will refuse to report on Biden's failings and instead focus on internal Republican division. They will point to Republican senators attacking Donald Trump and House Republicans just as they have over the last week. Democrats will run advertisements. See, even Mitch McConnell thinks Trump is being ridiculous. Yeah, they're already seeing some of that crap. And they will rinse and repeat this narrative all the way to the November election. This is how you save Joe Biden's presidency, by taking the chaos of Joe Biden's tenure and making it about Republican chaos being even worse, by taking the extremism of Democrats and making it all about the crazy right-wingers in the House and Mar-a-Lago. To be clear, this doesn't assume malice. The Republican establishment of Washington is so obsessively committed to Ukraine that they will use every tool at their disposal to apply pressure to other Republicans to write that big Ukraine check. The problem is that every time they apply pressure, they create an opening for Democrats and the media to tank our nominee. For months, I have been confident that Donald Trump would be reelected as president, but this is how you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The Republican establishment is going to war for more Ukraine money. They don't care if a second Trump term is collateral damage because they're Democrats. They're the bloody rhinos and war hawks. They're profiting off of it. You're skipping the obvious here. But of course, they have an insurance plan, even if Trump pulls it off. Though few have noticed, buried in the bill's text, a kill switch for the next Trump presidency. The legislation explicitly requires funding for Ukraine well into the next presidential term. The Washington Post has already reported this provision was added to control Donald Trump. It gets worse. Back in 2019, Democrats articulated a novel theory of impeachment based on Trump's refusal to spend money from the USAI, Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative. 5 years after impeaching Trump for refusing to spend money on Ukraine, they have drafted a new law that would again require Trump to spend money on Ukraine. If he negotiates an end to the war, as he has promised to do, they will undoubtedly argue that he has broken the law. We are nearly a year away from an election that could give Trump the presidency, and Ukraine obsessive Republicans have already given the Democrats a predicate to impeach him. Slava Ukraini, America be damned. This is this was a thing written by J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance serves as the junior United States Senator from Ohio, and is the author of the New York Times bestseller Hillbilly Elegy. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The thing is, they figure, all right, it's gotten so bad, and that they they are worried that Biden or whoever they throw in will lose to Trump, so they want to make sure to control him anyways. These people are evil. There's no other way around it. They don't care about what the American people want. They don't give. It doesn't matter to them at all. We will. They will bankrupt us just to make sure they line their own pockets with their profits from their investments in these weapons manufacturing and everything else. They will sacrifice as many lives as necessary to fill their coffers. And it's just sickening. Not much we can do either. And that's the worst part. But maybe all I can say is God help us within the next few months. But anyways, I thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Please consider subscribing if you think it's worth it. I'm going to try to put out more videos soon. I got another one that I'm looking on that's not so heavy on this. It's a little bit lighter on other news of the world. But either way, I thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a pleasant evening, day, or wherever it is for you, and I will catch you in the next one.